Good morning. Breaking news overnight. Matt Lauer has been terminated from NBC News. This is a sad morning here at Today and at NBC News.
Lauer's morning show colleagues broke the news live on air, reading a memo from the president of NBC News. On Monday night, we received a detailed complaint from a colleague about inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace by Matt Lauer, wrote Andrew Lack. While it's the first complaint about his behavior in the over 20 years he's been at NBC News, we were also presented with reason to believe this may not have been an isolated incident.
Now, today it's all about politics that's happening in Washington.
Yeah.
Lauer has been the cornerstone of the Today Show for 2 decades and was the highest paid person at NBC News, earning $25 million a year. Shortly after today's announcement, multiple media reports suggested that Lauer engaged in sexual misconduct with a colleague during the Sochi Olympics in 2014. And a months-long investigation by Variety reported Lauer had an alleged pattern of inviting women to his hotel room while traveling on assignments. Variety also reports that Lauer frequently quizzed women about their sex lives while at work and gave a sex toy to a colleague with a graphic note, as well as exposing himself to a female employee in his office, an office with a door that could be locked by pressing a button under the desk, according to Variety sources. The investigation says Lauer's conduct was well known by Today's staff, making interviews like this awkward.
Did you ever send a lewd text or email to another employee at Fox News?
No.
Think about those 5 women and what they did. They came forward and filed complaints against the biggest star at the network they worked at. Think of how intimidating that must have been.
Variety reports that several women lodged complaints in the past about Lauer with NBC executives, but no action was taken.
We are grappling with a dilemma that so many people have faced these past few weeks. How do you reconcile your love for someone with the revelation that they have behaved badly?
The New York Times was also investigating Lauer. Tonight it says NBC received at least 2 more complaints just today about the former host. And the broadcaster says current news management was not aware of any complaints until this week. Stephen D'Souza has more reaction on Lauer, the latest in a growing list of high-powered men fired for sexual harassment or assault.
The reports published today suggest Matt Lauer's behavior was no secret to many employees at the Today Show. But for his fans, the news was a bombshell.
In shock. I mean, that's so unexpected.
I'm so sad, and it's kind of hard to believe.
Really stunning, because I'd never thought anything like that of him. Of course, I hadn't thought that of a lot of other people either, so I guess anybody can.
This was supposed to be a picture-perfect day at Rockefeller Center, NBC's home in New York. The annual Christmas tree lighting is a bright spot on the holiday calendar. But today's news cast a shadow over the event.
I feel very disappointed in so many people. And I feel sad for the poor women that have had to, go through this for so many years.
The fact that Matt Lauer could be dismissed tells you something very important about the moment we're in.
NPR media reporter David Folkenflik says while there are questions about what NBC knew and when, the importance of Lauer's firing can't be underestimated.
He powers the Today Show, which is by far and away the economic engine that propels the successes of NBC News, and he's gone. So it tells you that they took the charge seriously.
He says the media industry and others are going through a sea change. Even NPR hasn't been immune. 2 senior managers have left after formal complaints were made.
I think you're seeing a revolution right now where allegations against people who would have had most protected status are now being treated with the utmost sobriety and seriousness.
Some people out here say it's about time.
I thought it was coming. I thought for a long time something like this had to finally blow over.
Certainly a benchmark in history that this is no longer going to be tolerated.
The question now many are afraid to ask or even think about, who's next? Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
The impact of these allegations stretch well beyond New York and the United States. Muniza Sheikh is a lawyer with expertise in employment and human rights issues. I want to ask you first of all about what happened in New York. NBC apparently getting this complaint on Monday night, firing Matt Lauer this morning, Wednesday morning. How do you feel about the speed with which this happened?
It tells me that they were far more concerned about running damage control from a PR perspective than any liability that might be associated with a wrongful termination suit. It also tells me that it is highly unlikely that they conducted any sort of fulsome investigation, which is something that Mr. Lauer is entitled to.
This is getting so much attention in Canada and the United States. The Me Too movement obviously has received a lot of support around the world. What are you seeing here in Canada in terms of the impact of all of this?
So on this side of the border, I can tell you that Me Too has provided a powerful platform for women to feel comfortable about coming forward with what many of us know to be a systemic crisis in the workplaces here in Canada as well. I can tell you in my practice, I have a number of employers who are reaching out to me preemptively, not in response to anything that's happened, simply to say, can you come in and train our HR managers? Can you explain some of these, astronomical legislative changes that we've seen so our HR employees understand? And more importantly, they're starting to understand that the public perception is that the buck stops with the employer in terms of creating a safe and healthy work environment. Simply having a code of conduct or a policy on the wall is not enough. People need to understand it, and you are responsible as an employer to ensure that they're trained on it.
I have a big question. I apologize in only a short amount of time to address it now, but for a woman who's watching, who has a complaint in Canada, what kind of road does she face now?
I can tell that woman that there is a lot of support from her, support for her, both, again, from a legislative and from a regulatory perspective. And at this point, she can come forward with her complaint to her HR department, hopefully without any fear of reprisal or retaliatory or punitive action on the employer's part. Simply,
do you think that would happen, that there would not be retaliation or punishment?
I think it depends on the size of the employer. I think the large employers are sophisticated enough to understand that it would be PR suicide at this point to take these sort of allegations and sweep them under the rug. Where I still see it as a problem is with your small to medium-sized employers who really are not necessarily worried about, brand damaging.
All right, Maniza Sheikh, thank you very much.